Hello to everyone. My name is Dr. Nachum Kowalski, and I am once again extremely honored to be here with the SleepASAP group to be discussing a whole range of topics, which actually this time are coming from our audience. And I'll speak about that a little bit more in a moment. I want to say a few words about SleepASAP. SleepASAP is a new global organization. It's established by an international team of specialists from the fields of art therapy, music therapy, psychology, and neurology. And we have gathered in order to both promote awareness and to provide effective and affordable alternative solutions beyond pharmaceuticals to people who suffer from sleep issues. Now, we are very happy to have back Dr. Hanna Chusid, who was with us last week, and by popular demand is once again back with us to answer a whole series of questions, as I mentioned before, that are coming from our public. We asked people to send in questions. We were extremely pleased to receive a tremendous number of questions. One of our team members worked very diligently to really work it down to a small set of questions that still are representative of the group, and we're going to be discussing those with Dr. Chusid Hanna. Dr. Chusid is a licensed positive psychotherapist and a certified yoga and meditation educator with 40 years of clinical experience. She integrates yoga, mindfulness meditation, somatic therapies, hypnotherapy, expressive arts, storytelling, and dream work into a relational, neurobiological psychotherapy and transformational yoga with individuals and groups of ages from 5 to 105. So I want to really personally thank Hanna for being back with us. It really is an honor for us. I also want to take a moment, as you can see, that we are very lucky to have Anna, our artist, and she will be creating another one of her world-class representations of this entire webinar. Anna, thank you so much for being with us. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of the questions that came from our audience, and the first question goes as follows. I hope I can learn more about how the sleeping process works and why it's not always working for me. So, Hanna, please, very much appreciate your answer.
Good day, and thank you for including me in this important conversation. What I want to say about this question is that when I'm working with an individual or any skilled practitioner, health practitioner, or alternative health practitioner is working with you, we need to understand clearly what it is you mean by it's not working for me or it's not working for me always. We want to distinguish in any of the inquiries we're engaging in, is the primary difficulty falling asleep initially? Is it a concern about waking up in the night, wakeful sleep? Or is it a more concern of that when you do get up, you don't feel rested, that throughout the night doesn't feel like a good quality of sleep? So that really has to be determined before we can address it. And for some people might say, well, it's all of the above. I have difficulty falling asleep, and when I do. So it's a highly, highly individualized answer. There are many reasons why it might not be working. We'll be teasing out some of them in the upcoming questions. A very general answer to the first part of your question, learning more about the sleep process. There are different phases of sleep. There's that very prior to falling asleep, a preliminary stage that some people experience as a kind of drifting or falling. We call it falling asleep. Before, it's in between fully awake and fully asleep. Technical term is the hypnagogic state. I love that experience. For some people, that experience itself is anxiety provoking because it has can have the flavor of losing control, and we're accustomed to wanting to be in charge of our situation and circumstance. That's not the only reason, but that can be one. And then during sleep itself, there are several phases of sleep, and you've probably heard the term REM sleep, rapid eye movement. There's several cycles, about 90 minutes of rapid eye movement, REM sleep throughout the night. That's the period associated with dreaming. And in between that, there are different phases of non-REM sleep, a lighter sleep, and a very deep sleep, if you're sleeping in a successful way. So that's a broad answer to that question. I hope that's useful.
I just want to ask perhaps even a personal question. The dreams that people have while they're sleeping, do your therapies ever work on those as well?
Yes, I often work with dreams. You know, the early heavy hitters in psychology, Freud, Carl Jung, Adler, as well as more contemporary humanist psychologies, all had a perspective that dreams are the royal road to self-understanding, but it really predates psychology. There's no culture on the planet that doesn't have an ancient, well, that I'm aware of, that humans have been fascinated and awed and perplexed and mystified and engaged with the dream world as long back as we know. My own perspective is dreams are not some separate category, and I could say this about sleep too, and this is an important perspective that I carry. It's not separate from the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Our issues with sleep are in some way going to be reflected or mirrored in how we're living our waking hours. And there are multiple types of dreams, and I go way beyond any categories of dreams that dream categories that you see in any of the major psychologies. From my perspective, in 40 years of working with dreams, probably more than that, because I was working with dreams before I entered the field professionally. Wow. I grew up in an environment where dreams were had given a value. There are as many states of consciousness as we have in our waking hours, we have in our sleep as well. So there are many kinds of dreams. There are dreams that are problem-solving, dreams that are just churning anxiety, dreams that are reviewing the day, dreams that anticipate the future. There are many kinds of dreams. So that they can be useful to work with.
Wow. Okay, thank you. That's fascinating. All right. The next question I'm going to present to you relates to peace of mind. And the question we have is peace of mind, eliminating concern, regret, worry, so that I can have restful sleep. So I understand from this that the person who's asking it is asking how to achieve this. How do I achieve a peaceful mind so that I can have a restful sleep, which of course already means that there's a clear correlation between peace of mind and restful sleep, which is one thing you've spoken about and also very important.
I'm going to speak about the specifics before I talk globally about peace of mind. Eliminating concern, regret, and worry. You'd have to become a different kind of species, perhaps. It's maybe a false goal to even set up for yourself to try to eliminate concern, regret, and worry in this way. And they're each different. To have no concerns about your own life, others' life, you'd be somebody without a value system. We're engaged in the world. There are going to be things we're concerned about. Regret is another thing. And I understand that concern can interfere with sleep, so I'll get back to that. Regret might have more to do, it can be part of what you're referring to with concerns, where thoughts are going around and around. There's something that you're ruminating on, And speaking globally again, there may be a need for going deeper into forgiveness, self-forgiveness for human failings, for human error, maybe even more than error, maybe major misdeeds. So there may need to be rectification in your behavior in the world to make something right so that you're at peace, or those areas where there really can't be rectification or where it's not needed. It may be something that you're ruminating about that the other person hasn't even given a second thought to. There's a need for learning the skills and practicing self-compassion and self-forgiveness. And those are kind of nice greeting card terms, but there are specific practices and specific, I'll call them technologies, that can assist you with that. And it's not a one-time thing. Well, you know, I told myself I forgive myself, but it's still there. It's something that happens in layers and again and again. And concern and worry, we could say, are along a continuum, perhaps. One is mild, one is more extreme. We're going to get a little bit more into this later, of skills of mindfulness. I don't think that it's necessarily possible to stop concerns or worries. In any case, it's not a useful goal to try to say, I'm going to stop my thought processes, whatever they are. It's the nature of our mind that it just keeps moving. It's like a river that keeps moving. So we want to learn the skills where we're not being pushed around by the current of the river of our ongoing, constant, flowing mind, but we want to be able to stand on the bank of the river and watch the thoughts going by. So we get just a little bit of distance from them.
Okay.
So that's a skill that's taught through mindfulness practices, which is an approach to meditation. It's not the only method, but it has a widespread popularity, and it's known for its efficacy because there's a lot of research. And once you get something that's been established in research, then more people research it, and more people and more people. So it's been very well researched. But there are many variations on that in which we're developing what you could call the witness mind. That's an older, more old-fashioned term, and you'll find it in different kinds of spiritual literature, the witnessing mind. But essentially it means you're taking a step back. You're not trying to stop the worry or the concern or even the thoughts of regret, but you're taking a step away, getting a little bit distance from it. If you think of it like a camera perspective, in one situation, the movie of my life is happening from my own eyes point of view. And I'm immersed in it, and I'm immersed in the emotional experience of it, and I'm immersed in the thoughts of it. And the other would be like if the camera pulled back, and I'm looking at the situation or my life from the back of the room or the corner of the room or the ceiling of the room. And that's actually one technique that I use in therapy, and is to shift your perspective in your waking in your mind's eye while you're looking at a situation, to imagine yourself as the director of the movie of your life, which you are, and to play with shifting the camera perspective, so to speak, and see what the difference in emotional engagement is. It sounds very easy. It takes practice. Some people will get it right away just from that description. But if you don't be concerned. Having guidance for any of these methods is really important because they take practice. You're really learning new skill sets.
So if we change the word eliminating to dealing with, would that be better? Would that be a better way to describe how to achieve what you've been discussing about? In other words, you're not trying to eliminate, but you're teaching people how to deal with these things.
Right.
As you mentioned, a new perspective, which allows you to deal with these issues so that you can achieve the state of mind in order to achieve more restful sleep. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would even say maybe even one step back, having a different relationship with your worry, with your concern, with your thoughts, with your regret, having a different relationship. And for this person who presented this question, those might all be one unit. Their regrets and their concerns might be interrelated, but I might want to tease it out, because regret suggests to me that there's also a need for some self-compassion and forgiveness practices, which is ongoing. It takes some time. It's like layers of tissue, you know, that we do again and again. We'll leave it at that for now, because there's more questions.
Great. Okay, so our next question is as follows. I need to learn how to relax and stop my mind racing so that I can fall asleep without drugs. Mm-hmm. And I personally think that extra comment, without drugs, already says a great deal about this person's previous experiences. Mm-hmm. And I obviously very much want to hear your comment, and when you're finished, I wrote a blog post today, actually, talking about a realization, perhaps I can say, that I had today, and I think it feeds into this issue. So please, so again, I need to learn how to relax and stop my mind racing so that I can fall asleep without drugs.
Okay. So we have some overlap here. We've got two parts to this question. Learn to relax and stop my mind racing. They are interrelated, but I'm going to address them separately. With the stopping my mind racing, similar to above, anytime we set up a goal, a kind of all or nothing goal to stop my mind racing, you're setting up a false goal. The mind, the nature of the mind, of our thinking process is that it's designed to be working all the time. Even while we're asleep, our mind is taking in information about the temperature in the room. Should we put on another blanket? It's working to let us know if we need to get up to go to the washroom. The mind does not stop. So it's developing a different relationship. When we talk about the mind racing and there's too many thoughts going all at the same time, or not being able to slow down, I want to say two things about this. It's you, and it's our entire culture. Some of this can have to, the learning how to relax is a really, you've given yourself the answer in your question, whoever posed this, in that it is a process of education. And it happens both with information, understanding what is called sleep hygiene, which doesn't have to do with being physically clean, although that can be a part of it, because we can be distracted by feeling, physically like the skin is itching or something. But it has to do with all of the habits around bedtime. It's usually referred to the habits around bedtime, but most alternative health practitioners will, or well-being practitioners will take a look at the entire day, your practices through the entire day. The use of electronics in our society will have the effect of increasing the mental activity and the speed of it. So not only is it, I used to be able to tell people, I have to tell people, turn off your television, 2 hours before you're planning to go to sleep. Now, of course, people are bringing smartphones even into the bedroom and into the bed, and maybe checking their emails as the last thing. Or I was speaking with a client the other day, and she said, her way of kind of checking in with the world was to watch the news on her iPhone as she was trying to go to sleep. So the things that we take for granted, reducing the amount of time that we're using electronics all day long to be as more minimal. Certainly as you're approaching the evening hours. We're biological beings. We're in a biological environment, and we've lost our connection with that. The closer we can get to listening to the animal self, it's the animal self that needs sleep, the physical organism, and we tune into the cycles of day and night, reducing lighting, electronic sound stimulus, electronic equipments. The closer to sleep time, the more you're going to start to synchronize with day, the sunrise and sunset. Now this, some people are just tuning me out right now going like, forget about it. Like, I need my computer, I need my iPod or my music or whatever it is. Changes, there's no all or nothing. I'm not giving a prescription to just stop all of these things, although I probably said that. Changes need to be made in very, very small increments. Very small increments. Otherwise, it's like a New Year's resolution that you can't keep. So cutting back by 15 minutes a day, for example, on the use of electronics. In yoga, there's a system of understanding the body and health called Ayurveda, Ayurvedic medicine, Ayurvedic healing. And one of the ways of looking at that are different aspects of our constitution. And the racing mind is always a sign of, the racing mind that you're not able to slow down is an indication, it's a symptom of some kind of imbalance. And all of the electronics in our world increase that imbalance. Travel also increases that imbalance, whether it's travel by car or by plane. So, you know, we're in this society that we just take for granted long trips. Many people do frequent flying. And so we need a number of ways to counteract that. There are all kinds of assists. We need to look at short-term and temporary external supports for calming the mind, such as getting massages, acupuncture. But in the long run, we do want to learn to relax, to re-educate the nervous system. How do I relax? What does relaxation feel like? Most people don't actually know what relaxation feels like.
There's an app for that on the iPhone for relaxation, okay. I think.
And paradoxically, you know, using the iPhone to do that, I would encourage but that might be a good transition tool because it's available, it's handy. Many people are used to using their smartphone. I might suggest that you use that app during the daytime and then try to recreate it for yourself at night. But if transitionally, if that's helping, then great, use that. There's an approach that comes out of yoga that's called Yoga Nidra. There are many brand names that it's out there with now. iRest is one that has been very established through research. It's being used with traumatized war veterans. And simplified, it's kind of a very scripted approach to hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy simply means you're giving messages to the brain, to the mind, that bypass your normal filter systems. Clinical hypnotherapy is not like that stage type of hypnotherapy where you're made to do, you know, entertaining and strange and goofy, foolish things. You're fully conscious, you're fully in control, you can stop it at any point. In real hypnotherapy, nobody could ever make you do something that was against your value system in a clinical hypnotherapy. And Yoga Nidra shares some things in common with hypnotherapy, but it's a very particular practice that I'm finding that it's more effective than any of the methods of hypnotherapy that I've worked with in giving people a taste of what does relaxation feel like. We need to be able to establish some kind of baseline recent memory experience. For many people, there's no memory of real relaxation since infancy or childhood, and sometimes not even that if you're raised in a war zone. Others might know it, have a taste of it if you've ever had acupuncture, and that is one useful method. And there's a period after the needles go in for those of you who aren't squeamish, that there's a kind of melting that can happen, a feeling of melting. And you're getting a little bit of a taste of, that's what it feels like to relax. A lot of people are self-medicating through alcohol and drugs, prescription drugs, of course, not self-regulating, but non-prescription drugs also, in order to get a taste of relaxation. The trouble with that is twofold. One is you become dependent on those substances, and also they actually interfere with sleep. So initially they're giving you a feeling of relaxation like alcohol, but it's actually interfering with quality sleep, with REM sleep, and deep sleep. So those aren't long-term solutions. So that's a little bit of an answer to that question.
Okay. I just also noticed that there seems almost to be a grouping of issues here between these two questions. The earlier question spoke about concern, regret, and worry, which are more negative terms. And then this question spoke about the mind racing, which is an active, a more positive term. And it just struck me that how often do you have the combination, or do you tend to see these things separately, that people fall more into one category or another?
Well, I would see these two. The language maybe is more positive, and we can use that because in some way. But very often, a racing mind and a worried mind are kind of the same. A racing mind refers to anxiety or rumination, thoughts going around and around. Okay. And usually there's a sense of they're going quickly. It's not kind of like a relaxed daydreaming where there may be many thoughts, but they're not moving quickly. So what I alluded to before about forming a different relationship with even the racing mind, of the skills at becoming a little bit more witness, a little bit stepping back. And that, I make it sound easy. If there's any, for those of listening to this, it's not something you're going to be able to accomplish just because we've given it a label here of step back and become more of a witness. Right. It is a skill set that can be learned, and it's not like it's going to take you a lifetime to learn it. We could take 15 minutes and I could tell you what you need to do, but it's very difficult to practice. So having an experienced guide, coach, and many different tools and tricks and to refine it is helpful, is really important. Initially, the research showed in teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction that taking an 8-week class was helpful in reducing anxiety, reducing depression, which can go along with regret. And then the research started, it was found that was helpful even if you didn't do the homework between the 8 weeks. Interesting. Week to week. And so does that mean just giving it attention helps? Just practicing the exercises during a class time helped? Yes. And now the research is going deeper and learning that just 5 weeks of attention to this subject and practicing will help. So there's all kinds of tools.
So I just wanted to throw in a couple of words. Again, the fact that this last question mentioned without drugs, and I wrote a blog post today about something that really just occurred to me. In the medical world, what tends to happen is doctors, and probably because of just lack of training and lack of appreciation, tend to think of managing problems like pain and sleep disorders as being medicine can try to identify the problem. If we can't identify the problem, we'll treat the symptoms. But if we don't succeed, then there's nothing we can do for you. So go to somebody and they'll figure it out. And what I kind of came to terms with or understood was that why does it have to be one or the other? Imagine somebody taking a sleep aid who starts all of the techniques that you're describing, and then as they succeed, they slowly wean themselves off the medication as they develop their own skill set. So for
Right.
people who are taking medications, I would say to them, I think this is a fair statement if you agree, that you don't have to make a choice. You don't have to feel you're being pushed into the deep end. You
Right.
can use what you have, which is working and helping to an extent, but you can find alternatives and then slowly wean off until you're comfortable with I call them alternatives, but in fact, they really are the appropriate way to be treating the problem. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, I agree completely.
Okay.
Any change, behavioral change, and change, which taking medications is a behavior, but it's also affecting your physiology in a profound way. You want to have success. Now, a lot of people won't want to be bothered. They say the sleeping pill's working for me, and so that's fine. They may not be listening to this seminar. And some people would say, well, why bother? The pill is working for me. And medications have other kinds of side
It's side
effects,
effects. That's right.
all kinds of side effects. And, if our physiology changes throughout our lifetime, and, your medication may not being adjusted to all of the changes going on with you physiologically, hormonally, and with aging. So, you can run into other difficulties. There's also generally you're not addressing okay. The medications are addressing the symptom of poor sleep.
Right.
So they're not addressing the larger issue of learning to relax, which has a mirror in your waking life of being more engaged with your life in a relaxed way, awake, relaxed. In our world, if people have any experience of relaxation, there's usually this on-off switch. We're awake and stressed, and on alert and on hypervigilance, or super goal-oriented or super achievement-oriented, or must accomplish, or must be productive, or alert to all the dangers and hazards and concerns, or one way or another, if you're lucky, or if you've got the right sleeping medication, then experiencing some kind of relaxation during sleep. But it's this on-off switch. And living in a way that's healthier for the body, the mind, and the spirit all together involves learning to cultivating the capacity to be awake, aware, present, and relaxed at the same time. And then wake to sleep is a seamless, it's just a continuum by choice, and being in touch and in tune with the natural organism. The issues of being able to sleep and being able to knowing how to relax, or being able to relax and getting good rest, is completely interrelated with waking states of anxiety and waking states of depression. And both of those are rampant and chronic in our world. So
Right.
addressing good sleep and happy life are very interrelated. We didn't, I spoke about mindfulness and meditation, and that's only one very important and well-researched approach to learning how to relax. There are other kinds of relaxation training techniques and methods. Some people are using guided relaxation audio recordings. They may help some people, or it depends on how severe your sleep difficulties are, or how chronic, if that even helps at all. Some people, just relaxing music can help. There are other relaxation exercises that can be guided, that can give you a taste. One's called progressive relaxation. Just learning in which you're intentionally creating tension in different muscle groups in your body, and then releasing them. So it's kind of like creating a more extreme tense state, even than where you're beginning, and then relaxing that area. So since you're in conscious control of the state of tension, you're able to relax it a little bit, and you're starting to get, that's just like the entry ramp into the road of learning to relax. But that's another example. There are many. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of our questions is as follows. I would like to learn about sleeping well and mindfulness. Now, I'd like to ask you, I mean, obviously, clearly, if someone can find someone as expert as you on the topic, then they're on the right road. But for other people, what kind of resources are available? Can reading a book on the topic help? Are there resources perhaps even online? Or do you really have to find a specialist who can take you through the process?
Mindfulness training, there are many CDs available. There are workbooks available. I'm sorry, I don't have it right at my fingertips, the exact title, but there are two workbooks that I'm aware of, both authored by Dr. Bob Stahl, Stahl. He's not the only one who's got materials out, but he's one of my mentors, and his books are very useful. They're both co-authored by other people, but if you Google his name. And one is a workbook on mindfulness-based stress reduction, and the other is a workbook on mindfulness applied to anxiety, and they're interrelated, but he's broken them down. And he also has CDs available. I don't work for him. I'm not getting a commission. I just know that he's got, his are the first workbooks that I'm aware of. Just reading about the subject of mindfulness in itself isn't going to help you. If all the self-help books on our shelves worked, we'd all be out of business, and that would be fine with me. I'd rather be gardening. But sometimes we get information and we say, yeah, I know all about that, and it didn't work for me, but what we got was intellectual information and not the actual skill training. But you can get skill training through CDs and CD courses, and sometimes there are online courses as well, for sure. You don't have to have somebody in person. And maybe we can post on the website and the different SleepASAP online places some of the names of the resources that I just mentioned, as well as some others. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. That's tremendous. We're actually almost at a point where this really, I think, might be the last question. All right. So I think this is actually a very important point here. We have one question asking, how do I get an understanding of what triggers long-term insomnia? Now, I think what the person is asking might just be more informational, but still comes back to what you were saying, that I guess if they feel they understand the issue, they can gain more control over it, mm-hmm. and that can lead them to solutions for their sleep difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sure. Yeah. I would say that, again, like everything we've spoken about, that's highly individualized. It's probably not, if there was a one-time trigger. What I see two different ways that long-term or chronic insomnia develops. One is that somebody has a devastating or shocking or traumatic experience, and very often it can be normal grief, a loss and grief, but where life is disrupted in a major way, and a major disruption of life will cause a big shift in everything. You don't eat properly for a day or two or whatever. And what started out as a temporary disruption, then we go, oh yeah, I'll get back to my usual routines or my usual ways when all this settles down. But by then it's a month or two down the road, and everything has gotten just reversed, and your whole physiology is imbalanced. And it becomes chronic out of a major event like that. And the other is where there's a shift in where the imbalance occurs incrementally, and we almost don't notice that it's happening. And I want to back up because it doesn't have to be a traumatic event that causes that trigger. It can be something like you had to wake up at, disturb your usual pattern to catch a plane because we ignore our rhythms of physiology in order to travel. So you've got to get up at 3 to get to the airport at 4 or whatever, and usually you sleep until 7 or 8. So you've disturbed it, and that could be a positive basis. And travel is a big one in our world. People who travel a lot, anyway, sometimes are living with disturbed sleep patterns and wonder why. So I think I addressed it. So it happens over time.
Okay.
Through small disturbances and interruptions, and then not listening to the body and the body's needs. We say, but I can't take a nap, I've got too much I have to get done. A nap might help somebody balance out a short-term or temporary disruption, or I'm just not somebody who naps, or I'm not able to fall asleep and in the daytime. And that's true for some people. And other deeply relaxing things might help. And I want to say one thing about this, because I haven't mentioned movement or fitness or exercise at any point, and it's really important. Sometimes we haven't used our vital life force enough in the day in order to be tired at night. And we need to be fit, and not just be fit, to keep active mentally and physically, right. And that's a big one in our world, to be able to need sleep. And on the other side of that, some people who are big fitness freaks or fitness fans, we'll say more positively, if you don't wind your activity down as the sleep hours are approaching, and you're at the gym is the last thing in the day, you're too aroused, you're hyperarousal. So it's learning to listen to the body's needs and the physiology in small ways all throughout the day, all throughout your life, and make small changes to respect the body, your intake of food, stimulants, not only caffeine, but sugar, all the junk foods, to speak broadly, will often cause an imbalance because you're not getting real nutrition that your body is craving. So all of the lifestyle considerations can throw off balance in small, invisible ways that become chronic insomnia, as well as these major life events that cause a sudden disruption, and then it's hard to get back on track. And self-compassion there for making small changes to get back on track are one way to focus yourself.
We're out of time.
Okay.
I really get the sense we could talk about this for a lot longer with a lot more interesting and important questions. I want to thank you tremendously, Dr. Hanna Chusid. It's been really a pleasure, and I know I've learned a tremendous amount. I want to thank Anna for her amazing drawings and art.
I want to thank you, Nahum.
Yeah,
thank you. Fascinating. Thank you all.
It's an honor for all, and for the team at SleepASAP, Hemda, Nadav. Really, it's great to be working together on such an important topic. So we're going to cut out. Thank you to all.
Thank you all very much. Yeah.
A good night.
Thank you, and I invite you all to join us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Meetup. And I want to wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you, everyone.